Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks very much for staying with us. If you want to remain this afternoon, and I guess that you will, at the university, it is much more advisable to stay here, because as soon as you go on, you will find 38 degrees. So better stay here, it's safe. And we provide coffee in about 3/4 of an hour, and then we will provide, and I will expect that you all will stay, a beautiful closing ceremony of our master that at the same time is closing ceremony of the conference, because we will have the pleasure to enjoy a conference by Professor Bernd Hugenholtz, who has just arrived, is there on the back, and then he will move around copyright and metaverse. Yeah. You have been, we all have been since a decade ago, looks like, the day before yesterday, yeah, when we had the first dinner. It's a long time ago, but we have been working yesterday and today very closely all together on a program that was brought basically by Aurelio and Aurelio's team, where I was applauding all the time. The more the program was being defined, I have appreciated so much the fact that for the first time probably the whole universe of the metaverse has been structured in a way or in another in, if I remember well, 6 panels? 4, 5, 6 panels, yeah. And this has already merit. This has already merit because shows that, thanks God I should say, that the metaverse is moving through a smoothly and just some years of cold time, while 5G, 6G progress and the artificial intelligence will provide much better capabilities and so on and so forth. There are other superstructures which are still needed, but we had to profit this time from the research perspective to try to structure all these problems, all these problems. And we wanted to do it within the framework of our community. So you have understood probably that there are certain levels which we wanted to address. The first level is the level composed by this gentleman and myself, Bernd Hugenholtz also probably. So the old guys, we have no protagonism at all. We are old-fashioned. We have some merit on trying to go with the bicycle as near you as possible, you have to acknowledge. But this is not our time anymore, but we have something to say. This was the first level. There was a second level where you have been surrounded by quite an amount of well-known professors coming from all over Europe, and we are extremely happy that all of them, without exception, without any exception, they came in, they said yes to Aurelio, and this is the second Lyell. However, there are other 2 Lyells. Lyell number 3 is the very Lyell we were interested in. We desperately need in Europe to develop a network, but not necessarily a network of all guys. We have already quite an amount of good network amongst ourselves, not necessarily a good network, Gaetano, you side, let's say, or you level, but a network among the doctorates. You know that, at least myself, I have been my whole life completely obsessed of getting networks among doctorates. The whole AP had this meaning right now. And then this is the reason why we invited gently to all of you to come. I have to say, Aurelio, I guess that you will agree with me that the expectations were not so high. And what has, I mean, what has happened, it goes much farther than what we expected, Aurelio. It's amazing what has happened here. Probably in some years, you will realize until what extent this has been a landmark. And you were the protagonists. And we have provided all the possibilities, all the capabilities, and the mise en scène, as you have seen, you were here, while these bloody professors were on the back, just mentioning certain things from time to time. You have been the protagonists. I mean, you are not only the future, but the present. Yeah? So from a let's say, Lyell's in a structural perspective, this is the way this Congress has been organized. But the Congress is very closely connected with the master you have there on the digital society law. When I say there, I mean there, and I mean there. This is Julián's affairs. And this is the fourth level. And we wanted to close, to have the official ceremony of the closing of the master today, right after, or together with this program, to pass also a clear message. There's a next generation coming. And then you should start assuming responsibility on this new generation coming. Yeah? So this is the first thing I wanted to pass you as a conclusion for today. We have a generation which is still useful. We have a second generation which is already mature. We have a third generation, and this third generation is the one we have to push. And then we have a fourth generation coming, and you have to support this next generation. This is also one of the reasons why we expect that you all will stay in the closing ceremony, which is going to be a nice ceremony, by the way. Our ceremonies are always surrounded by music. So we will have music, then some music, and at the end some music. And in between, we will have a lecture, and we will have some words coming from our authorities and from Julián. So having said that, the second thing we should do now is to try to get some conclusions. And conclusions means conclusions on what has happened here, and conclusions means also on thinking, and now what? Because there's nothing worse than one single event without a strategy behind. Organizing a conference and then saying bye-bye at the end of the conference and not knowing what is going to happen afterwards is perhaps, it's my vision at least, it's worse than not organizing anything. Yeah? So I expect from you also some thoughts on, and then what? Not necessarily at the University of Alicante, but then what? We are creating a network, and the network should continue. So if it is agreeable with you, I would like to go panel by panel, asking you to throw to you some conclusions, very brief conclusions. I just say a couple of minutes, 3 minutes maximum, yeah. And then if you agree this methodology, they talk, and then we discuss, not necessarily going one by one, by trying to bring the different sessions together and trying to get some conclusions. As this is recorded, as this is recorded, we will later on at the end, we will get a kind of summary or report or something, and you will get all the necessary information about what has happened here during the whole Congress, but also today. So who's first? We started with the content behavior moderation in the, no, we started, sorry, with the, I come. The program was so long. Yeah, good. We started with the Metaverse governance, and here the chair was Pau. Pau is not here, so we will bring him on board in the discussion. The second is avatars and digital identity in the metaverse, and the chair is Julián. So Julián,
well,
you have the floor.
thank you very much, Manuel. Thank you very much, all you, for being here, working so hard during 2 days. Well, I have to start saying something that probably Manuel didn't say before, but that is important to know that the main goal of this Congress was to bring together young scholars and senior researchers to put together all of you here, just first to get to know what are you doing, to learn from each other, but also to put you in contact, to create these networks so that we can collaborate and continue working on the future. So this is not just the 2 days conference, so we hope this is just the beginning of something else. And apart from that, and related to that, I think that, and this connects with the first speaker of my panel, I can say that, taking from Vera Lucia, that we have had some fun. Even we are lawyers, we can have fun discussing all these topics that we have discussed these days. So it has been not always been work and research, but also we have had fun, and I hope that you share this with me. And if I think I have already consumed my 2 minutes, but if I have to bring one takeaway from not only from my panel, but from the whole conference, is the need to collaboration and the need to interdisciplinary research. So we have seen this in the first panel, the need to address digital identity from different perspectives. So not only from a legal perspective, but also from a neurological perspective, from a sociological perspective. And this is very important, even if you work on this issue from a specific point of view, from your personal background, but it is important to know what other people is doing in this realm. And this interdisciplinarity does not only apply to the first panel, but I think that throughout the panels, we have seen the connection between all topics we have covered over this Congress: digital identity, liability, enforcement, territoriality, interoperability, content moderation. All these topics are related. So I think that we may always pick something from what others are doing that is applicable or that can shed some light in our research. So this is the main issue that I wanted to bring here, and I hope you share this with me, and that we can follow with this conversation not only today but in the future.
Okay, very good. So thank you. Before giving the floor to Aurelio, who is going to talk about his panel on privacy and personal data protection in the metaverse, I would like to recall that while for the first panel we don't have Pau, but we have Patrick. So Patrick, I will give you the floor later on for just a couple of minutes, because I know that you have pretty good ideas which can condense what we did in this panel. So Aurelio.
What a surprise, huh? But Patrick.
You have to thank me that I gave you a couple of minutes.
Correct.
Yes. Have to think.
Well, first of all, you are completely right, Manuel, in saying that the results of the Congress were completely unexpected. I mean, I'm now thinking about the publication of all your papers in the website within 2 weeks, and think about the value of what this has for research on these questions. I have read some of the papers, that the one belonging to my panel, and it's a great contribution. So I think it's going to be very good for research in these issues. So congratulations for that. And concerning the conclusion, I'm gonna try to be very brief. I'm gonna shoot some ideas, and I think that we are in a moment where we are doing an exercise of imagination, in the sense that we are trying to figure out the legal problems of the metaverse, taking as an example the virtual worlds that now exist, or the devices that now exist. But we are not completely sure if this is going to be successful in the future. Okay? That is the case. So, for instance, the first idea that I want to shoot, because we need to, since we are going to have, we have to think of the following Congress. There are some aspects, some questions that I consider fundamental. They are transversal. The first of them is blockchain. It has been said by many that blockchain is essential for the existence of the metaverse. Well, I'm not completely sure about that, because there are examples now of virtual worlds that are centralized, and there are examples of metaverses that are decentralized. But those that are decentralized, they raise a lot of legal questions. So first, this is one of the things that we need to think about. The second is about openness and interoperability. This is raised by the European Commission in the communication, and I have to say I like it a lot. But I'm thinking about the following. I can imagine how can the future be, and this is a scenario that is, in my opinion, is possible. And a scenario where we will have a one winner takes all, as it has happened with social networks, with Meta, and in other fields. And I can imagine, for instance, that in the virtual worlds, I will say, Meta is not going to succeed. I mean, Horizon Worlds is not successful. Decentraland, I don't like it. It's not user-friendly. I say like this, okay? This is my opinion. So there are two candidates to be successful, in my opinion. One is Roblox, but it's too simple. Probably it's fine for kids, but not for adults. So the candidate is, in my opinion, Fortnite. Okay? So, but if Fortnite wins, that means that we are going to have a closed system. If we do not adopt measures now to ensure openness and interoperability. So the same problems that we now have with platforms, we may have them in the metaverse in the very near future. So we need to adopt decisions concerning openness and interoperability, whether this is possible, whether this is advisable, and how to get it. Third is compliant by design. In my opinion, this is coming from the GDPR, privacy by design, but now we talk about compliance by design. This is even a principle that is established in the Spanish Charter of Digital Rights. Well, what does it mean? Can we ensure the compliance of all legal standards by design? What are the limits? Because if this is feasible, if we can reach all legal standards by design, this is fantastic. We won't have any problem. Nobody will go to court. Is that correct? I don't think so. So there are some limits to the compliance by design. And finally, co-regulation, that is related with the idea of the problems concerning territoriality that has been mentioned by Ana Mercedes. And in my opinion, this idea of co-regulation already exists in the Digital Service Act. And in my opinion, it's very attractive. The idea of saying, well, there are several problems that can be solved within the platform. I like to say that the jurisdiction is in the platform, not in the metaverse. It's in the platforms. So it is true that this is not private adjudication. It would be private justice. That's correct. But we can ensure that that platforms do their job well with all the obligation that exists in the Digital Service Act. So this is something that needs to be studied because, Manuel, you have said it's not my idea, it's Manuel's idea. Private international law, we are in a dead-end street. We are in a dead-end street with the traditional measures. This idea of conflict of law, conflict of jurisdiction has its limits in the digital environment.
Yes,
and
sir.
Probably the solution is in co-regulation. And that's it. Those are the ideas that I wanted to mention.
Thank you. Patrick?
Thank you.
No, get, no, because this is recorded, and so it's better if you get it.
Let me think back to my panel. Some key themes. I think we already have some emerging policy areas, which is great to see in governance. We know already there are some features of the metaverse that are new, and we've identified those in the case studies. I think it's also important that we can tie some of these features to existing policy as well. So maybe we don't need a Metaverse Act. We already see sort of its relevance to the DSA, the AI Act, the GDPR. So I think my job is going to go and do some homework and see if there's, in the next 2 years of implementing these things, whether there are still gaps, whether we can cover them in those 3 regulations I've just mentioned. And then, the question of interoperability is not just relevant for IP or for competition, it's relevant also for governance. And this is also one area, as we were, I don't know if this is actually on. Is it on? No.
It is, no?
I think
It's
I'm
not
just
on?
speaking at this volume. It's fine, it's all right. I mean, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, but for the purpose of recording. Go.
Hello. This gives me more time to think.
It works.
It works.
It was working.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is your captain
Great.
speaking. Did I have anything else?
Interoperability?
Interoperability. Yeah, it was just interesting to me to get into the details about some of these pieces of regulation. I mean, whether it's Article 40 of the DSA, Article 32. We were talking also about GDPR procedural rules at some point. The AI Act, transparency requirements for the avatars, everything like this. And this is all going to be hopefully really useful information for regulators and legislators, not just the EU regulators that we might have joining us this conference, but also for the national ones. We have France who are working on metaverse strategies. We have Finland who have published it, focusing more on the business side of things, but also keeping ethics in mind. So I'm hoping that we can publish some of these papers, and this kind of communication will be really useful for metaverse policy going forward. So I want to thank everyone, while I do have a microphone, for organising this. You've done a fantastic job, and the people you brought together have been a pleasure to interact with. So thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Thank you very much. Thank you. So now the next one is Professor Laurent MANDERIEUX. La vieille garde a encore quelque chose à dire, mon pote.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
yeah, you have the
and
floor.
even because we are opening the doors to new generations.
That's it.
So, and making them blossoming. And by their blossoming, we can also shine. Okay, fine. So, as such, the big objective for us in the IP and Metaverse panel was to reflect on how intellectual property, which is so much criticized now publicly, as a concept that is of the old guard, can precisely be useful to society, to business, to various elements, to all stakeholders in the development or in the non-development of the metaverse. I had the honor to have splendid speakers and extraordinary discussants in the persons of Gaetano Dimita and Enrico Bonadio, and we worked together so that we constructed together so that we test the elasticity and flexibility of intellectual property. Elasticity in law and flexibility may lead to other concepts, but we are talking of elasticity and flexibility in the sense of ethics, and therefore in a sense that renders, that shows that intellectual property, a concept that comes from the, that is now in a way sanctified by the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, it's a concept that serves people as well as those who create, users, consumers, and those who create. And we tested this elasticity in the fields of trademarks, how trademark law is friendly to the metaverse, or how are the metaverse friendly to the old trademark system. Same thing with copyright, same thing with industrial designs. We didn't move that much in the field of patents. But still, this is basically the exercise we did. We saw that the system as it exists faces also the rigidity of territoriality, as we have all pointed out in most of, or in all our panels. Of course, also we tested, we studied the decisions, court decisions, that were made at start of the metaverse. We are still in the first age, in the first generation of the metaverse. So in a way, so these decisions will be more refined in the coming years. A corpus of legal decisions will support probably the renewed elasticity of the concepts of intellectual property. We also entered, as many panels did, into the issue of ownership, of the legal personality of the metaverse, which is at the center, one of the centers of the debates in this conference. And I think this is all what we did. I was very happy personally that the topic of intellectual property that was not simply in our panel, but it had to come to other panels, and that the topic of other panels had to come to ours, which is exactly the idea of interdisciplinarity, the reasons for which we are happy and honored that under the leadership of Aurelio and with the guidance of course, of Manuel, we are all here to study, to be together, and also to think, to come out after these fantastic 2 days of food for thinking with new ideas, new projects, new cooperations, and new friendships. That's all what I wish to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurent. Thank you. Panel number 5 dealt with content and behavior moderation in the metaverse. And now I give the floor to Professor Polaski.
Thank you very much. Yes, my panel...
Probably you don't know, but some time ago, Professor Polaski landed in Alicante and fell in love with the sea and bought a house in 2 weeks. And now we don't know what to do to get rid of him.
Yes, no, Manuel is moderating everything I'm doing and saying. Anyway, I try to do the same to the group of researchers that dealt with content moderation today. And as the topic suggested, we covered a broad range of issues from criminal law to civil law. And a lot of challenges in that very field are the consequence of the fact that Metaverse is a combination, at least in the version of Meta company, is a combination of video game, of 3D reality, and the social network. And obviously, this creates a gigantic amount of problems associated primarily with how to essentially flag and therefore take down content that is either illegal or is basically prohibited by terms of a given platform. Looking at the future, I was wondering, maybe we could ask researchers in future to come up with, for instance, a list of measures they would recommend. So I'd like to ask, for instance, 4 or 5 researchers, basically the same question, okay? What do you think would be the best set of measures to combat illegality? Very often we hear that if there are 2 lawyers, there are 3 answers. I would like to check if that's really the case, okay? In order to narrow down a discussion and create outputs that are more applicable to specific areas. So that's one idea that crossed my mind. Second one deals with what Aurelio mentioned, like the depth of conflict of laws or private international law. Well, yes, I agree. We need new methods of discovering norms that could be used in future to sort out disputes. But for many, many years, I've been a deep believer that these norms are hidden. It's just that community of legal scholars have not uncovered those norms. They are hidden in trade usages, in customs. Every community develops customs, every single one. It's just that we do not have the right methodology to uncover them. I'll give you, without delving into any lecture in that regard, a few examples, short ones, just to convince you that there are such norms, customary norms, that were developed by internet users and companies, and that they are much deeper and even more important, in a sense, to the functioning of the internet, and they are not even reduced to writing, to a written law. For instance, we are basically all our communication is being encrypted these days via TLS protocol, okay? Have you ever wondered, is there any law that obliges internet companies to use specific encryption algorithms? Or is there any law that says that we should log out, or someone should log us out from a website after a certain period of time? No, these are practices that emerged kind of spontaneously 30 years ago, right? Because it was thought that this is something really important. And there are a number of such practices. They exist on a regular web, for instance, order confirmations that we receive, right, when we purchase something. Okay, now they are enshrined in e-commerce directive in Article 11, but the contents of order confirmation, the order number, right, the fact that the transaction is summarized, this is all that evolves spontaneously. And I can assure you that there are such spontaneous practices that have legal relevance that exist in Metaverse, and uncovering them could help us shape, I believe, law, a better understanding of law, understanding of norms that exist deeper and are already enforced because they are being practiced by all of the actors. It's been one of my most important contributions, I believe, to that area, but it's not right now the right spot to talk about it. What I also loved is the fact that we invited some computer scientists, right? And we had a chance to listen to people from a completely different perspective. I believe we should continue to do so, because we have to come up with one language. Well, both sides of that equation has to understand each other. I still struggle with terminology, for instance, with terminology in the essay. I was hoping that finally hosting will be essentially understood in the same way as in the IT community, right? And this is not the case. Now we have a hosting and online platforms, and if you try to show these definitions, this terminology to computer scientists, they will be completely confused. right? Because it's used completely differently. I believe we need to bring the terminology to common ground, and this could also be one of research challenges for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Don't come to the conclusion that we want to get rid of him. We don't want to get rid of him basically for one reason. We discovered at a certain point that he was basically a professional guitar player.
Oh, no, again.
and here we love guitar, so we decided to bring him on board. Thanks, Paul. Before giving the floor to Teresa, and then giving the floor to you for some minutes, I would like also to recall that we had an aperitif and just coming into the matter with Anne and with Christina Jackson yesterday morning. It's long time ago, but it happened. Then we have a very inspiring lecture yesterday with Nuria Oliver, yeah? And today also with Lache. So think of these three pieces of the conference that I think mix very well with the panels. And I would like to recall just one thing here, profiting that Anna is still here. So Anna, we do appreciate very much that you didn't leave the room for a couple of days. This is, well, you know what extent I am a commission man, and I love the commission, but sometimes the commission is a bit out of the blue and out of what is happening and out of the academia, yeah, or far from the academia. And you have shown us in a very nice way that you were interested, that you came, you didn't leave just after yesterday at 10 o'clock, just saying that you had very important things to do, and you stood here with us, listening, taking notes for a couple of days. This is much appreciated, Anna. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It was not such an effort, I really enjoyed my time.
So I go back home now. I would not say understanding better, but at least I know better what kind of topics you deal with, what kind of issues you discuss, and what kind of issues we should discuss consequently, because this was the point of my visit, is that, as I explained yesterday, we are going to probably touch upon the question of legislation sooner or later, so it's also important for us that by then we know exactly what we have to observe and to work on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. So as a token of love, you are going to promise that you will come back, and I am going to promise you that next time we will try to find as much enjoyable time as possible in the beach. So now, Teresa, we were waiting for you so heavily, and now you're here.
Finally, I joined you today.
Thanks.
Yesterday was not possible. Thank you very much. I enjoyed very, very much the panels today, and I'm sure that yesterday was absolutely amazing. So for my panel, two main overarching questions on three specific areas, I think. The first one is clearly this recurrent discussion about regulation of the metaverse. And clearly, we agree on the fact that the state-based, territoriality-dependent regulation model is not working properly. So we need to think about, in that layer, what are we going to conceive for the metaverse? But there is another layer to consider. The second one is, are the current or the existing rules fit for a purpose? It's a paper that we are writing together, to which extent we can indeed apply the substantive rules that we already have for the digital economy in the metaverse. The third layer is clearly enforcement, and dispute resolution, how we are going to solve that problem or challenge in the metaverse. And probably another layer that I think we have not discussed so much, at least today, is what happens when we do have legal situations that are going to have legal effect in the metaverse, but others that are going to overflow the perimeter of the metaverse and they are going to have impact on the real life, just to use this word. So how we are going to trace this bridge between the metaverse and the non-metaverse environment. So I think that this is the first question that clearly come again in the discussion in the panel. The second one that I like very much is this idea of what kind of market is going to be the metaverse market. This idea of the market of experience, to which extent scarcity is inherent or not to the metaverse, and the idea of to which extent this metaverse is going to be a competitive market or an atomized market instead, and what are going to be the measures that we need. That is, for me, the two main questions that we have, and then three specific areas. The first one, and Mercedes was in particular, not only Marcos as well, talking about property right in the metaverse. We need definitely to delve into property approach, to which extent we need new concept, to which extent we can accommodate proprietary right in the metaverse. And what are the consequences? We were discussing before, to which extent we are so much dependent upon, but also influenced by this kind of pre-existing or precondition. So first one for me is clearly property in the metaverse. The second one is clearly consumers, consumer protection. This idea of do we really have more vulnerable consumer in the metaverse? Or on the contrary, the fact that the metaverse is so close to us, is a kind of mirror image of the real space, probably entails that there are not additional vulnerabilities that we have to face. So I think that consumer protection required substantive and very profound analysis in the near future. And the last one that I like also very much is unfair commercial practices and marketing strategies in the metaverse. And why is that? Because clearly, it has been already explained, we have a new environment. So we do have situation, deepfake appearance, that are creating additional risk because they are more impactful or because they are more reliable and realistic. And that could create reasonable expectation about what is going to happen, and therefore unfair commercial practices could play a very important role in the metaverse. So that would be for me the two main questions and the three main areas that require further research in our cooperative work that we are going to do in the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Thanks very much. I understand it's quite difficult to talk after Teresa, but I would like to give you the floor just for some minutes, just in case you feel you could add some added value, any of you, second level or third level. Please.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vera.
Despite the fact that I do teach the course on the metaverse, I'm not a real believer on the metaverse. I think it's kind of a bubble. This is a perfect. You were not expecting that. No, in the sense that it grew substantially, especially during the pandemic, for obvious reasons, as you cannot go out, and everything related to metaverse and even NFTs, they had a substantial growth. I think then it came down, really down, and the meta failure was a little a reflex of that. So not only meta's fault, it was a general environment. Probably, actually I was having this conversation with Jen during the coffee break or during lunch. Probably with the fact that Apple is launching these new Googles, it will have some new excitement because, you know, the Midas touch, whatever Apple touches, suddenly there is a new interest. But I think it will get flat for a little bit, maybe a little bit of interest in the coming years, but it's not going to be as they claimed that we were going to have this, everyone was going to have second lives in the metaverse. This in what regards virtual reality. I think that for augmented reality, things will be really interesting. Yeah. And for business, for entertainment, can you imagine, even for education, for us giving our classes, it will be amazing. And in particular, because I come from medical law, in the medical field, augmented reality is going to be huge, and it will bring so many advances. So I don't know, do you have also this kind of, maybe it's only me that I'm suspicious of virtual reality, but I'm a huge fan of augmented reality. What do you think?
Can I?
Thank you, Vera. Yes, briefly.
Very briefly. Yeah, I actually expected that companies will go in that direction, in direction of AR, rather than virtual reality or extended reality. The promise is simply much, much greater over here. But it's surprising that we do not have that many, AR devices available. So I guess that's the reason that was not the main topic today. But I think the situation is going to change fairly quickly. It's just too promising. So I agree. That's going to be a game changer.
Yes.
I do also envision a more probably incremental and asymmetric penetration of these immersive technologies. And I agree with you that probably the most evident application is going to be linked to augmented virtual mixed reality. It's very easy to incorporate in a variety of application and uses without the challenges and the legal problems linked to the immersive technologies. So I agree with you that it's going to be definitely not one step, jumping into the metaverse immediately. It's going to be something more irregular, more probably chaotic, and less what we initially thought. A metaverse there under construction, and then suddenly everybody jumped into the new world. Probably it's not going to happen like this, but probably it's going to be increasing and more intense once all the companies realize that the others are also competing in this new environment. Probably there is a kind of wait to see what is going to happen before investing significant amounts of money in the new environment. But I see your point, and I certainly agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last intervention, because coffee is waiting. No. When I say last, I was not addressing you. I was addressing all the others.
Yeah, I'll just ask one question. Education has been mentioned like all day. And my question to you is very simple. How do you make that concrete? Because saying, we need education, we need literacy, that's easy. But what concrete measures do you see feasible at schools, high schools, university, public society? Are you already doing something from your own background, or what do we need?
What do we need?
Let's go, Laurent first.
Laurent.
Well, I think that education, which is really at the basis of the success of Europe as of the second half of the 19th century, education has been a matrix that permitted us to have a democracy and refined legal systems. And this goes with absolutely all the disciplines that we have studied in these 2 days. By promoting education, that means civical instruction of children, of high school students in the university, we bring a context that permits to make good laws and not laws dictated by demagogy or exclusively profit, and so on. And as such, this is what it means. The question of education, the big question of education, is actually the question of Europe, of the future of Europe. So fundamentally, the panel that brought first this topic, the panel that related also to the major risks of the metaverse for children, for security, and so on, brought very high this topic of education. But all our panels brought it indirectly. And this is why I think that this should come back high in each and every agenda. Piling laws is extremely useful, is perhaps necessary, but piling laws in all directions is also the result of a lack of a culture of education that is highly developing in the transatlantic area. Let's not only flag on Europe the negative things. Okay.
Thank you. Aurelio.
Well,
on this matter.
Jan, I was not sure whether you were, your question was about the need to educate the children or the people about technology, or on the use of technology for education purposes.
No, the first.
Is the well,
the first.
I have thought about both, so I will tell you. About the first one, in my opinion, is fundamental to. We are creating laws about things that the people does not know what it's about. So it's important to educate. But I'm very pessimistic about it. There is something that I say to my colleagues in the law faculty of this university. I'm sorry. I don't say that we do not manage our students to get digital competencies. I say that we manage them to lose the few digital competencies they have, up to the point that they finish and they don't even know what LinkedIn is. So I'm quite pessimistic about it. And about the second, I'm pessimistic as well. To introduce technology, and in particular to introduce XR technologies in education, you need investment. And you need confidence. I mean, you need your university to support you. And my case, I'm not gonna say anything against my university, but it is true that we had the chance to use glasses, headsets for certain courses. But the problem was that we still do not have use cases where you can see that it has a value added, in particular in legal studies. Probably in other studies like medicine, for instance, it makes sense, but it was not my case. I mean, when I have to defend the idea before the vice rector, I have to admit, I'm sorry, but for law, it is not useful yet. But in any case, if it would be useful, it would need investment.
Thank you, Aurelio. The question is fair. In fact, there is one word in any language having no plural, and it's the word priority. It's impossible to have several priorities, except if you put them one after the other, descendant, yeah? And here, certainly, we have three priorities. Priority number one is education. Then priority number two is education. And then priority number three. Before giving the floor to Aurelio, who will close the...
No, you're chairing the table and you should conclude.
Yes, I'm at the table. No, before giving the floor to Aurelio, who will close the Congress.
Okay, I understand.
I'd like to say three things.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The first one is that I would like to thank the first and the second Lyell, because we have been thinking on the third Lyell all the time, and in fact, I have appreciated so much that so knowledgeable professors came here as a secondary actors, yeah, and just supporting the very protagonists who were the ones who were there for a couple of days, and this is from time to time, it's a humble attitude, and I appreciate it very much, and I think that we, Aurelio, yeah, we all have to appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for all the discussions and all of you who were here just supporting. In the case of Paul, you know, Paul would have liked to talk so much and to give so many potential things, but he had to control himself because he was just a moderator. Yeah. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you. That's first. Thank you. The second issue I would like to say very clearly is about the future. Listen, I'm thinking now, reflecting only on what the academia can do, yeah? We cannot compete with the Americans and Americans, United States, yeah, for Colombians, and to China on many respects, mostly investments. But we are still there. And one of the things we certainly can be much better than the other two is when creating networks. We don't have the money, but we have the people. And we have the network. And we need a European network on this matter. And this third level, so the level of the people who really can bring food, which are the doctorates and the young researchers. So if we have initiated amongst all of us this path today, I could be extremely disappointed if we don't follow. And if it's just a one-time effect. So this is the beginning. I think that the feeling I have seen from you is that you are willing to create this network. Don't expect this network is going to create by the old guys. We can support, but you have to create the network. We can provide all the support and all the capabilities, but you have to do it. But without such a network, which will mean being extremely generous towards the others and support each other all the time and so on and so forth, Europe will not progress. So I think this is something we could get as a heritage also from this conference. It's sending there, and this is up to you then. Yeah. But I will insist, I will be very disappointed if this does not happen. And then last, you know, now is the part of the senior professor talking to you. You will, most of you will be at the university or are already at the university. The dream of a professor is the legacy. And you will see, and I think that Bernd and Laurent agrees with me, that the more you move in terms of age, not knowledge, but age, the more you move in terms of the anxiety to bring legacy. Yeah? So legacy is a must. And I don't know whether you know, but Professor LÓPEZ-TARRUELLA has been appointed a full professor just 3 weeks ago. And this is the legacy. He will close in a minute, and he will talk about his team. I'm the grandfather. It's beautiful to be grandfather. Unfortunately, I'm not grandfather yet biologically, but I have a lot of grandchildren. And sometimes children that are at the same time grandchildren is a bit complex. But I have lots of grandchildren, and you cannot imagine until what extent you profit of grandchildren and you enjoy with grandchildren. But I have a child, and this child is this guy. And after 32 years, we have a new chair at the University of Alicante on private international law, and just I publicly, because I will not say it again, Aurelio, just once, yeah? But publicly I would like to say today that he is the master who have organized it, all this together with the team, of course, that I'm extremely proud of having this legacy, and that, well, once this kind of things happens, what you have to do is just smile and enjoy, and giving the floor to the legacy. That's it. Okay. And the last part of the conference is closed, and now the legacy comes with the conclusion.
Well, I'm just going to close just with one sentence. I didn't feel as happy as today since 2009. 2009 was an special year because Football Club Barcelona won 6 cups.
It will not happen again.
And it was the time of tiki-taka. And we won 6 cups because we had a great team. A great team. So please, a big applause for Javier, Raúl, Giovanni, Malgorzata, and Megan. This was not possible. thanks, because that team saw the light. And Manuel DESANTES is our Johan Cruyff.